Right, and we're live. I have Vinnie Quinn, co-founder and director of Evercam Construction Cameras with me. Vinnie, welcome to the Livecast Construction Experience. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, Kieran. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Vinnie, you're the first man to come on this new studio, right? So be privileged, right?
It's
You'll be
lovely.
many, yeah. We're looking at Vinnie at the moment in his workshop, and we're doing both, to be honest with you, mate. We're bringing people in, we're doing the face-to-face stuff, but for like you really could have come in and doing face-to-face stuff. You literally live around the corner from us, but it's good to be able to leave you in your hub and be able to do this type of stuff. The beauties of modern day technology, I suppose. Vinny, for people that don't know, what is Evercam?
Evercam is a provider of cameras for construction sites, but it's not a provider of normal CCTV security cameras. So
Right.
Evercam are cameras for creating marketing videos, for generating data, for measuring things, for giving tools to the various members of the design team to carry out their jobs.
Yeah, okay. We love to get right into the person behind the business here, right? So when I done a bit of research, it struck me that your first, let's call it your first online business, was actually back in 1999, right? I done my junior cert in 1999, right? So internet just wasn't a thing. So you're definitely an innovator in the space. Jobs.ie, where did the idea for that come from?
Jeez, you're making me sound very
I
old,
know,
but
I
I
know.
guess you're right. So Marco, who is my co-founder and business partner in Evercam, myself and Marco set up our first business together straight out of college back in 99
Yeah.
2000, and it was originally Nixers.com, which was short-term and part-time jobs. And after a lot of ups and downs and struggles and learnings, we eventually grew it into a good business. So that was a good learning curve, and it's a good experience.
How did you go about getting people like onto that platform? I mean, the internet wouldn't have been the biggest thing.
It wasn't, and a bit like now. There was people had their own ways of doing things, and as it was for part-time jobs, the way it was done at the time was an ad in the back of the Herald, and companies paid
Yeah.
40 quid to put an ad in the Herald, got a load of phone calls, and hired people that way. And it was just at the beginning of people having online CVs and people generally having internet access. So when the platform was built first and we'd no content, we just took all the ads from the back of the Herald and put them all online. And then all of a sudden, we'd a couple of people rang us up, giving out, like, you took my ad and you put it there, and okay, grand. And then there was another guy who actually became one of our early investors because he saw his money going on one side into an ad that created a time-consuming issue of answering all the calls and getting all the CVs, whereas the other one was just good CVs coming in by email from people who were already sort of computer literate and everything. So it was just a way of kickstarting the service with a bit of content.
Yeah, it was
So
a good hustle. I absolutely love that. So was that it? You went from there then into keep going into sort of construction software. Was it always going to be
it was
construction software for you, Vinny, or?
no. There was a big gap then after we had the jobs website. We both after that finished up well. We sold it years ago, and then we took a few years off, and my business partner Marco started. We were looking at different types of businesses, and we were both off doing our own thing. He was living in Berlin, I was off backpacking around the world, and we were just staying in touch. And someone had a construction project within sight below his apartment block in Berlin, and he started recording it for fun to make a video, and he realized leaving the computer on and all that was all messy, and he started pulling the images to the cloud. And then after a few different chats about different businesses, he sort of said, right, I think I'm onto something here. Let's see if we can sort of make a product out of this. And we first thought we were getting into normal CCTV software to restoring CCTV in the cloud, and that wasn't the case. And we worked at that for years, but the market wasn't there, and the normal CCTV was doing a perfectly good job at most things. If what you were trying to do was, have a CCTV for a shop or a restaurant or whatever, the stuff that was in place was fine, the existing hardware, and it didn't need to be in the cloud. And after a few different directions of the business, we realized that we had a couple of customers who put our cameras on construction sites, and our software allowed them to communicate using it. And we saw that they were logging in much more than everyone else. And we also saw that the value of the problems they were solving was much higher than everyone else. So it wasn't about did something get stolen or it was more about we were able to stop a delay. We were able to prevent a delay by seeing something about to be done wrong, or we were able to communicate with all the delivery guys not to block that gate between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
So we realized that the problems were huge, that if you can help people with the right information at the right time, and you can't argue with an image. If an image is time stamped and it shows that somebody did something or didn't do something or delivered something in the wrong place or broke something, it's not up for debate. So it was all about, we realized in terms of just dispute avoidance, this was a great tool. So that's become a huge big part of what our business is now.
Was that why they first came to you, Vinnie? As in, I suppose what just played in my head there as you were speaking was, did they come to you as an option for an alternative to their security camera, or was it this is something different that could solve disputes? Was that
no, it was neither. Most people came to us at the beginning looking for a time lapse of their project.
Right.
So at the time, a time lapse video tended to be done by a videographer, and they'd put up a traditional camera, and they'd come back and change batteries and SD cards once a week, and at the end you got a nice video, and it did a very good job of just making a time lapse, but it was still slightly outside of their control once they had left it and left the batteries in and the SD card in, and you're sort of hoping you come back and somebody hasn't knocked over the pole that it was on, or hung their jacket on it, or hit it with a hammer because they didn't want to be seen, or something like that. But you got back and you just checked if it was working. And because we were using IP cameras that we were connecting to and providing a live view, it just meant you had this extra suite of tools, but also because we were looking at the live view, you never missed anything on the time lapse. If a camera's not connected and someone wants to record the demolition of a big building and they do the demolition in a day and a half, it's very hard to go back to them and say, can you do it again? We missed that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see it live. So we're pulling the images into the cloud, and as a result, so that's why a lot of customers came to us. It was the marketing department or the marketing budget. But once we got the camera live and shared it with the project manager and the quantity surveyor and health and safety director, all of a sudden different departments had different reasons to use the camera. So we realized that we were solving valuable problems for different people, but we realized all of the good stuff we were doing was in the construction industry. So at the time we made a decision to double down on everything construction and stop doing some of the other services that we had been doing for other industries. And we just, said, right, every tool we make now on Evercam, every development decision we make about the software and the business, we'll talk to our construction customers and see what they want. Yeah. And it was the best decision we made. And now we feel like we're, for the last 4 years now, we've been really in an industry rather than just being a software provider to loads of industries. We're part of construction.
So you're finding now that I suppose traditionally time-lapse cameras were being used by marketing department to say, this is how we operate, look at our brilliant projects. And interestingly, I find now that you're saying that different departments now can use this for different things, like we spoke before, maybe using the concrete truck example. Brilliant.
Yeah.
How's that going? Has that evolved since? Because I thought that was a great example of, we get an invoice, 20 concrete trucks are came, and we can actually just do a quick check on the cameras. Actually, we just got 18. How's that little process
that's been a really interesting change for the business, because we've always been recording everything for the whole project for the customers. So we've always said we have everything. If you need to go back and check something, you can use Evercam. It's nice and straightforward. You can go back and look for something. And we sat down with our customers, particularly with QSs, and sat down with a couple of customers to see how they were using Evercam. And they were sitting down with a stack of tickets for delivery of particular things, whether it was, contaminated soil leaving the site, or concrete trucks coming in, whatever. And then they were matching them up with the time and date and counting them. And we had been sort of staying away from our artificial intelligence for a long time, because we needed a concrete, for want of a better word, application for it for our customers. So we've been working on it for a couple of years now with training algorithms to recognize trucks and to be able to count them coming in and out the gate. So it brings it from being a time-consuming exercise to being able to say, okay, we're doing a big pour over the weekend, and here's exactly the times the trucks were in and out, and here's the average length of time they stay in there, and we can show that none of them came in at the times they were supposed to not be there during school hours or whatever it is. And in particular then for items where it's unclear at the beginning of a project, it's not, yourself, when you're up to floors 9 and 10 of a project, you know what your costs are going to be very tight. Within reason, you know what each square meter is going to cost you. Whereas at the beginning, when you're just starting to dig a hole, you don't know what's going to come out of there, or how many loads are going to be required, or how long the archaeologists are going to be there, or whatever. So just being able to have the camera there then, and having the footage and turning that into data that's used for dispute avoidance.
So your camera, you have a piece of technology and algorithm developed that would actually recognize a concrete truck, or let's say a dumper, or some sort of any sort of truck that's entering the site. You're sort of training the software to recognize this is a truck, and we count that and then provide that data out by a report.
Yeah, and that the client can go in and say, right, I want to look at all of January, and I only want to see the cement trucks, and I only want to see them on that site. And it brings up a report, and it's fair. You can't go to a customer and say this is going to be 100% right, but you can do everything possible to make it as accurate as possible. Yeah. So, for example, we show an arrow of the direction of the truck, so that you can't, someone say, oh, that guy, you counted him twice because he reversed in and he drove out, or he drove in and reversed out. So again, we draw the arrow to show, no, okay, this guy reversed in, but he also reversed out, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that you're not counting things twice. Now, you can do all that. You can't go and say this is absolutely run to court with it, or run for a row that it's 100% right. It's a backup to the data that customers are already generating for the moment.
Yeah.
And that data is already there, but we're saying if you're going to have any potential disputes or anything like that, if you have an image to back it up, that image is going to be true.
And was that something that your customers were coming to you looking for, Vinnie, or was that something you just sort of innovated yourselves, sort of looking at various problems for different customers?
A combination of things. It was looking at what customers were using Evercam for and what they could use it for, but it was also looking at the start of things that were possible. There's no point in us trying to build algorithms to count things that can't be done. So like we're building a load of tools to be the service that gathers all the data from site, or coordinates that data. But you have to start somewhere, and that thing we're starting with has to be a useful service to the existing customers that they will give us feedback on, or else there's no. If we build it and don't get any feedback on it, who's to say if it's any good or not? But if we build it in conjunction with a few customers and say, has this saved you 2 hours a week? Has it been accurate? What can we learn? Okay, we can learn that you also want to count skip wagons, because they're another thing that you pay for every time they come in. Okay, great. Let's train the algorithm to count skip wagons. And we have guys labeling the data, and we're able to say, okay, here's what we think is a skip wagon. And we go to customers and they say, actually, that's not. It's just a weird shaped dumper truck that looks like one with the same edges on it. And we go, okay, great. That's a learning curve. That won't be a skip wagon anymore. And then you're into the ability to say, well, how long was the crane on site? Well, we have the image when it wasn't there, and we have the image when it was there. So the crane was in that picture for 176 days. Anything that can be counted from the camera. So
yeah, I was going to say, it's like a problem out there is like we've got these jobs, we've got, let's say, a dumper or digger on site, but we don't actually know what value we're getting from that machine. Right, we put it out there. We know it's been out there for, let's say, a month, but do we actually know what productivity we get from that machine? Is that something that you're looking at as well?
Yes and no. It is. Like we can look at the video and say that dump truck hasn't moved in 2 weeks, or that dump truck's only been active for 20% of the time it's been on site, and we can do that from a good, clear image of the whole site if it hasn't moved. But on the modern trucks, you're going to have a lot of companies now will have telematics on them anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, you might get that data from elsewhere, but the telematics data might be telling you one thing, and our camera might tell you something else. So the telematics might say this machine down here should be serviced now, but then you look on the camera to match it up with what's there, and you go, do you know what? That machine is down a massive hole, and we're not going to be able to take it out of there for a week, so we'll just postpone the service on that for a week. Or you can plan for things better, and what we're often doing is backing up the existing data with the live image or the recorded image to show where something was at the time. So I don't think, like, an interesting example is we've had like lots of people say to us, oh, you'll be able to use this to spot if people aren't wearing their helmets and their PPE. Yeah. And it's one of those areas where that just doesn't happen anymore. It's just not a thing. There's no point in us trying to train the system to do that, because on any big site at the moment, you don't get in the door without your helmet, your high vis, your hard. It doesn't happen. So we don't need to think about that. We need to think about the bigger picture of how, if we're looking at the facade of a building, what percentage of it is done? Is the building being done in line with the BIM sequence that we have on file? So we're incorporating the BIM model into the live view and being able to show the future of the project and seeing, are we on track? Were we on
Okay.
track last month?
That's
And
interesting.
that's where it gets really exciting. So that's another service
So
where
your camera will sit on site, and let's say we're getting up to floor one, we can integrate that to the BIM model and actually see live the
yeah.
building growing into the BIM model. So
Exactly, yeah. So
yeah,
you can. So what happens is then the surveyor goes out and hits our camera with the surveying equipment and gets the XYZ location of the camera, and then spin the model around to match it, and then we get the model in whatever format we're giving it in, and we can break it down into JPEGs from that angle that can then be used to see where we are now, where are we going to be, where are we going to be in a week,
love
a
that.
month, a year. And that's proven really useful. The feedback on that so far is it's great. It's a
Yeah,
it's a
love that.
really nice visual tool. It's not going to you're not going to be using it for clash detection to see if two pipes are going to line up or not.
Yeah.
It's not that
Yeah.
level. We're using a 12 megapixel image. It's good, but on a big site, it's not going to show the millimeter accuracy, but it is showing a very good representation of what it will look like or what stage you're at. And future iterations of it will be just having one layer. So put the M&E layer over or whatever to
It's also like we're seeing a lot more construction companies starting to have international operations now as well, I find. So I mean, if I'm here and I'm at a senior level and we've got a job on the UK, job on mainland Europe, to be able to log in, have a quick look at something as well, even if it's just a quick glance at progress, is ideal. Absolutely brilliant. You touched on something else there. Data protection. If your camera is, let's say, high rise, middle of town, and you've got, let's say, an apartment block, something like that, is that something that becomes an issue, or do you have a way to work around that?
Yeah, we've been working on that a long time, and we've taken plenty of advice on it. We've done our own homework on it, and the rules are pretty clear, in line that you operate as you would do with the normal CCTV system. And you can see like that, the poster that's up on the door there behind me is, you have to say what you're recording and why.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed, you can use it for that purpose within reason. So, if you're in a CCTV in a shop, you're usually recording about 30 days history, because within reason, you'll find out something's wrong within 30 days.
Yeah.
If you're recording the public, recording a building site, you're not recording the public. Everyone who's coming onto that site has been inducted, and there's a sign on the gate saying that Evercam is in operation and they're being recorded, and that it can be used for time lapse and site management. So, you're covered within reason. And then if the camera does overlook a project that's adjacent to a school or a public area, we can create a privacy shield by just drawing a big black box around it. And then in the nice marketing video, we superimpose a still image of an empty playground, so that it doesn't.
Yeah.
We've been through all of those. We're hosting cameras on about 80 different rooftops around Dublin at the moment, and to get permission to do that, because very often the best view of the site isn't on site. It often is from a crane later on in the build.
Yeah.
Very often it's from across the road. And to get permission to put that camera there, you do have to have a data privacy impact assessment, have a data processing agreement, and to reassure the company that's hosting the building that they have no liability, because you're not actually recording anything on their premises. You're pointing it across the road at the building site. Now, and it's helpful on a lot of sites to have something covering the gate, but we're not publicizing, we're not sharing images of the public or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we have a nice way of blurring out in the time lapse to make sure people aren't personally identifiable. So it's been a long learning curve on it, but you have to stay within the regulations to be able to expand.
Yeah, you touched on another thing there being dispute avoidance. So, has there been cases where customers have used Evercam in disputes? Yeah,
loads. And they've used it in disputes, and in many cases they've used it to avoid disputes. Where possible, when our cameras go in, you can have unlimited number of users on the camera. So if it's the client putting the camera in, we'll encourage them to put the whole design team on the camera. So everybody involved, put the architects, put the engineers, put the main contractor, give everyone access, and we'll show everyone how to use it. So if you're looking in and you're going to complain about something that someone of the other contractor's doing, you go in, you use our little edit tool to find an image, draw a circle around it, say, guys, if these guys drop the steel here tomorrow, I won't be able to do my work and I won't be able to dig that hole. Or if these guys block the gate again. And it's a good way of anticipating those things, because you might only be saving half an hour here and there, but it all adds up. And if you can prevent a delay by saying, lads, we're supposed to be coming and doing our part of the job tomorrow, but I'm looking at the camera and you're not ready. We can't come tomorrow. It saves people annoying each other by sort of the old way of saying, yeah, we're ready for you. Come, it'll be ready when you get here.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's not ready, I'll send my lads somewhere else and we'll do it when you're ready. So that's the nice level of it, where it's used as a communications tool. But also, it should be able to help that some of these disputes don't have to get any higher up than they need to in the chain of command.
I was just going to say, because that next thing that ties into is health and safety. So if there was an accident on site and you have that view of that camera, surely that helps a lot to be able to view that incident and see what happened to try and mitigate against that problem again.
Exactly. And the interesting thing with that is, like, I always assumed that when we had footage of an accident, what the person would want to see is the accident. And it's only when we started getting clips for our customers and zooming in on them and all that. And it's really interesting to see how the modern sites are managed, because when one of our customers has an accident or a close call, what they want to see is what led up to that, then see the incident, and then see, did everyone do what they were supposed to do afterwards to make sure that the site was safe, and then what can we learn from this to stop it happening again? Because there's no site that's going to be completely risk-free. No. And when you have so many different moving parts and all that. So what's lovely on our system is when customers have a close call, what they can do is ask us to quickly go in and make a video where we zoom in on the close call, and then they can use that in a toolbox talk or an update to everybody and say, lads, when the barriers were moved from here, it was this guy's job to put them back and he didn't, and this guy nearly drove into that hole, and luckily he didn't, but it was a close one. And if you're showing people that with the footage of the site that they're on, they notice it much more than if you're showing people a cartoon or a representation of a site with some actors in it. When you're saying, lads, this nearly happened yesterday, and here's what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. People are, they take notice of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got customers like BAM, CISC, Savills, Cairn PLC. That's a impressive customer base to have using Evercams. I notice as well that you're being up for an award. When are them awards happening?
Yeah, that's the 28th of March. The ICE Awards, the Construction Excellence Awards. Yeah, that was nice, because what's lovely about it is so many of our customers are up for awards. In the Project of the Year category, we had cameras on loads of those projects, and we're now making little videos for some of the customers on those. So it's great. It's nice recognition that we're sort of around, that we've been around a while, and that people are enjoying using the product.
Is the winner picked through a vote, or is it picked through a panel?
I think it's picked through a panel, because I haven't told all my friends to vote for anything yet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So hopefully that's it. I think that's it. I think they picked the Project of the Year through a public vote or an industry vote, but I think ours is through a panel. There's a smaller number of.
Given the impressive customer base you have, I think you're going to be in with a great show for that, and I hope you do get recognised for that. Vinnie, where could people find you if they're interested in having a look at getting cameras, interested in finding out more about Evercam or about the business?
Evercam.io is the site, and we've contact details there for the nice thing with Evercam is it really helps to see it in action and to see what other customers are using it for, to see what people in the same industry are using it for. So if anyone is interested in getting a quote or a demo, then we'll get someone out. If it's easy to get someone out to stand beside them. If not, we'll do it over the phone, and that's the best way, is to see what other people who are facing the same challenges and what they use it for. So
how far can you span that service? Is it just Ireland, the UK?
No, we're bringing it to market through channel partners in the UK. So in the UK we have 4 salespeople in the Evercam office, but we're partnered with loads of the companies who install the cameras up and down the UK. So we've a lot of customers here where we're on projects for them in both Ireland and the UK. We've got cameras, a few live in the States, we've a few going live in Australia later on in the month. So it can be rolled out anywhere. And what we are seeing with some of our Irish customers is that they have projects abroad that they'd like to have the service on, and in that case we can always either send a box out with them or talk to a local guy who can manage the hardware from there.
Yeah, Excellent. There isn't many of us, Vinny, and I mean of us is Irish construction tech entrepreneurs. Like this, so I'll definitely be sticking tight and following your story. I wish you all the best with it. I hope that war comes true and continued success with growing that business across the UK, Australia, and States. And we hope to be coming not too far behind you, to be honest. So,
brilliant.
Vinny,
no doubt you will. And thanks for your time, and thanks for putting the effort in to draw attention to the industry and those of us in it. Really appreciate it, Kieran.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Vinny.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Vinny.
it. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.